Let's go, go, go. Wait, let's stop. For the ADHD and ASD, or the AUDHD brain, this is a common thing. This can be a great combo in counteracting traits. Today, I've got Dr. Norrine Russell. She's back again because she really knows her stuff here around autism and ADHD. She's the founder of Russell Coaching Students for complex students who are 2E, twice exceptional, ADHD, autism, or anxiety. She's also the author Asking the Right Questions Before, During, and After Your Child's ADHD Diagnosis. She has a PhD with a focus on psychology and education with 20 plus years experience with youth and parent development. Dr. Russell, welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me, Andre. It's a pleasure to be here. Loved our previous recording.
Yeah, well, this is actually, I kind of decided we're going to have a little bit of a mini series on autism and the entrepreneur. And twice now we've talked about autism and the entrepreneur. Now we want to talk about the ADHD and the autistic brain together. So how is this a neurodivergent strength?
Yeah. So many strengths are inherent in both of those conditions. And we don't often spend a lot of time talking specifically about what they are. But when we look at ADHD, some of the very specific strengths that we often see in people with ADHD are creativity, divergent thinking, high levels of energy, an ability to engage other people, an ability to be a leader. And when we look at people with autism, we also see really some very distinct traits or skills. And among those are steadiness, thoughtfulness, attention to detail, and an ability to follow through.
So that's kind of intuitive to a little bit of ADHD, to follow through with the distractibility.
Yes. They're very much complementary strengths.
Wow. Okay. You say they're complementary. Sometimes I find them conflicting. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, because when you told me off camera the last time was, geez, the go, go, go. And then the autism is slow, slow, slow. That hit me really hard. And I just saw a lot of stuff in my past flash across my eyes. And a lot of entrepreneurs are diagnosed both with ADHD and ASD, autism spectrum disorder. And this is where I wanted the conversation. So you're saying it's complementary, and I agree with that. I'm not saying I don't disagree, but at the same time, I think there's always two sides to the coin. Like, one's really good. If it's underutilized or overutilized, then it becomes challenging. What's complementary? And then we can also follow through into the I got some conflicting questions about that.
These two skill sets are complementary in the sense that the ADHD part of the brain can propel the ASD part of the brain into action, right? It can create energy. It can create flow. It can create, sort of exactly that state that entrepreneurs often want to be in, where they're coming up with new ideas and they're thinking about things differently. And then I think complementary from the ASD side of things is that sometimes the steadiness of the ASD personality will allow the ADHD part of the brain to calm down and to have some follow through, to complete tasks, to think things through all the way. So it's complementary in the sense of you want that creative go, go, go energy, that uninhibited energy. Okay, let's think about new ways of doing things. Let's think about new products to develop, right? But then, of course, every entrepreneur needs to also get that to the finish line. And that's where the ASD traits can come in handy.
Can you repeat that? Get back to the finish line. Just repeat that one more time so we can get that perfectly clear.
Sure. So where I think the ADHD brain is really helpful is in the business process when we're trying to design new products, when we're trying to meet new needs, when we're trying to analyze the marketplace and see what's an opportunity here. That divergent thinking that comes along with ADHD is really helpful at idea generation, right? Okay, there's this gap in the marketplace, and what could I do? Oh, I have idea 1, I have idea 2, I have idea 3. Sometimes for the ADHD person, it's idea, 1,001, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes what can happen is the ADHD person runs out of steam on getting that to the marketplace. Execution, right? Because that requires all kinds of executive functioning skills, organizing, planning, prioritizing, not going on to the next thing before you finish this thing. That's where the ASD brain can come in and be so handy, because people with ASD like that predictability, stability, right? They're good at seeing all of the things that need to get done in detail and finishing a project. And so, in a way, they are very complementary strength sets.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I can see that in my own career, where plus being physically hyperactive as well, the go, the energy, it's a need. There's no way it's I prefer, it's a need. But at the same time, I see myself pulling the reins a lot of times, even to the point that it's going to a very, the horse is going backwards, I feel, or maybe it's not. Is that maybe an inner conflict between my ADHD brain and autism brain, saying my autism brain go, hey, let's slow down. Let's make sure we got everything. I like that the terms you use, stability and predictable. I do have a need for that and things and what makes it more comfortable. So if maybe I'm still moving forward, but I think that stop is counteracting my go. And I think in time it creates an inner conflict or a tension internally. Does that make sense to you?
100%. I think your insight there is invaluable and spot on, because the ADHD brain likes to go. And many people with ADHD like to go at pretty high speeds. Anything that checks that, right, or puts a pause on that can feel like, wait, like, am I not doing the right thing? Am I not supposed to move forward with this? Wait, I was on a roll here. I was on a tear, right? And so there is this inner conversation in the brain between, wait, I thought things were going great. I was in the flow. And then, the part of the brain that's wired more with the autism is like, slow down, think about this. You're getting out of your routine. You're getting out of what's comfortable. And I would think that the trick to learning how to manage both when you have both is recognizing when you're getting messages from the different parts of your brain, right? Like, oh, my ADHD brain is kicking into high gear. This is a great time for me to be creative. This is a great time for me to sit with my business partner, or this is a great time for me to, throw ideas on paper or onto a video.
Right.
And then when the slow down message comes, stop and think about, is that because I'm getting out of my comfort zone, or is that my business sense kicking in and going, also think about this with that idea? Differentiate from fear versus caution.
Okay, but okay. And there's so much. Okay. So the impulsivity also requires, that's part, ADHD entrepreneurs, we're a lot more adaptable with risk. So we want to take the risk, but at the same time, the ASD brain wants to say, we're going beyond our comfort level and we need to be outside of routine and comfort. So I had Doug Brackman on here talk about the driven brain, and he was talking about the elephant and the monkey. So the elephant is your neck, your basic reaction that protects you. And if your elephant gets out of the comfort zone, your brain talks you down or whatnot. So that your elephant wants to be comfortable and familiar, always be in the familiar. Is that the same as the autistic brain?
Yeah. It is.
Just be a little more amplified?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. The ASD brain wants things, needs things, craves things to be predictable, to be in a pattern, to be understandable. And it gets a little nervous when it's out of routine, which isn't to say there aren't lots of ASD people who are creative and think outside the box and all of that. But it is one of the characteristics of people with ASD that they tend to like their routine. They tend to like their comfort. And because of that, I think that becomes a real strength when it's paired with the ADHD energy, creativity, hyperactivity. It's not so easy, right? It's a little bit more like shifting between fifth gear and first gear.
Right.
People might like to be riding along comfortably at 50 miles an hour. But when I think about what I see happening, it's more like, okay, step on the gas. We're going fast. We're going 65, speed limit 60. We're going 65. Maybe we're going 70, right? And then that ASD need for comfort and predictability kind of kicks in and you're like, oh, wait, let me stop. Let me impulsively stop, right?
Right.
That's still the ADHD part. Let me impulsively stop and think about, am I going too fast? Am I going in the right direction? Like, is this out of my comfort zone? I think the real challenge would be figuring out that ASD message and figuring out, okay, am I stopping and putting on the brakes because I'm out of my comfort zone? Or am I hearing my business sense, right? My good sense, my savvy kick in and go, okay, now's the time to get into action, bringing this concept to life.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it does make sense. I'm just pondering now because it's very it's because you were saying before, what we got to we have to recognize what part of the brain is sending the message. So is it the ADHD side, the go, or the autistic brain for the slow, slow, slow? So if it's outside of my comfort zone, or if is it a business sense?
Yes.
That makes sense to me. Because it's more about sticking to a routine or needing to be in a routine, or I think it's more about the predictability and stability makes more sense to me. So these are not cognitive processes we're discussing, are we? Like the ADHD brain, like, is this like a kind of like a more in depth of these are like instinctual reactions, responses, or need beyond, like, I think cognitively after we can figure it out, but it's not like we trained ourselves cognitively for these behaviors.
Yeah, I absolutely would agree with you there. I don't think they're conscious thoughts that are driving us. Like, I need to go. I'm in a creative mode. I feel impulsive. I feel antsy. I need to be doing something. I don't think it's cognitive like that. No, I think there's an energy that sort of wells up from the physiology and from the neurology as well. And this is something we talked about when I was on previously. I think there's so much value to reflection and
Mhm.
to getting to know your brain and being able to articulate that. Because ultimately, what we want is to be able to harness these strengths, right? The ADHD person, we want that person to be creative and amazing and driven and looking at problems in new ways. That is one of the most valuable strengths, I think, of the ADHD brain is the divergent thinking that it brings. And so just recognizing I'm in full on ADHD mode. My brain is going lots of different places. Lots of different neural connections are getting made. I'm bringing this over. I'm bringing that over. I'm thinking about how this relates. That's great. And then being aware also when your autism brain is like, wait, I need to be back in routine. It's lunchtime or it's coffee time, or I can't miss this meeting with my business partner. And so I think a lot of these things do operate very, is subconsciously exactly the right word, maybe, but it's a physiological process in addition to a mental process, which we, as we get older, I think can become more and more aware of and also communicate with whoever we might be working with, right? Business partners, team members, employees, partners, spouses, because the ADHD autism brain can look very confusing to people who are neurotypical.
Yep. I can relate to that.
As someone who does not have either one of those conditions, when I watch people who have both, it takes a lot of listening and observation to make sense of why are they doing that? What's going on now, right? And so the more that the person who does have ADHD and autism can be self-reflective, first of all, the more they can know themselves and harness those strengths to be successful in the business world, in the entrepreneurial space, but also to be a good team member and a good family member.
Yeah. Now that you just said that earlier about, how the two brains work together and confuses people, I'm just reflecting back a couple customers in some meetings going, well, last week you told us to basically go, go, go. Now today you're telling us to slow down on this thing shit through. Like,
Yeah.
I can see how that's very confusing. I didn't realize that till now, how it is and why.
And, it's an easy enough thing to manage. Like, to say, sometimes I'm really in the creative space. I'm in the, project development space. And then, once I transition to it's time for product development, then we've all got to collectively shift into that direction. And then once I shift into, marketing and sales or promotion, then I'm in that space. I think what can be confusing for people who aren't wired like this is it looks like there's rapid fire shifts, right? Like I'm going from
Dr.
creative
Jekyll and
mode.
Mr. Hyde type of thing.
Yes. Although I wouldn't characterize either one as being,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it can be a little bit like that. And so being aware yourself, I think, helps you to maximize that. Like, okay, in my routine, I'm going to carve out space for creativity. In my routine, I'm going to carve out space for studying. In the entrepreneurial world, what are some things that excite me? And then making sure you keep some of your routines, especially I think around just basic self-care and wellness. Like, the ADHD person can enjoy working in bursts and forget about eating, forget about, taking a walk. And so the balance of all of that hyperactivity with the need for routine, I think ultimately can create some good mental health.
So having the impulsivity, unpredictability, and having the need for predictability is good for mental health. Is that what you said?
It's like the autism brain perhaps can slow down
Yeah. Okay. I got you now.
ADHD brain
Yeah.
being a runaway train.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's ever since you told me that phrase, ADHD is go, go, go. Autism brain is slow, 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 or stop, stop, stop. I used to think that stop, stop, stop part was fear or fear of moving forward or trying something new, even though I know I got my energy drive from the ADHD side and my achiever side as well of go, go, go. And honestly, that caused a lot of inner conflict, almost to think it was a moral failure to a certain degree. And then when you said that phrase, I'm like, no, I get it now. It's my brain at the same time needing that predictability, but also needing that impulsivity and high drive energy. And to me, that clarity just opened up a whole new way of looking things forward. And lately, what I've decided is I'm going to start listening to my body now, because I'm finding that my body reacts before my brain does. And it's gut instincts is one thing people are calling it. And I used to have to be able to prove that gut instinct was right or wrong, but I'm at the point where I'm just saying, I'm going to listen to my body, because, I found a couple of health issues because of that. Some of my decisions based on my gut without having to prove it yet got proven later, later to show. So now having this concept now of the go, go, go brain, the slow, slow, stop, stop, stop brain, it's more of a physical reaction and need. So it's more, I guess what I'm rambling to the point is we got to start saying, hey, why am I stopping? Why am I forcing myself to stop? Or why am I needing to go, go, go? And like you said, what part of the brain is that message coming from is very key. And so if I know if it's one from the other, how should I treat that? Okay, let's have a scenario where I want to create a new program, but I'm stopped. And I decide it's the autistic brain stopping. So what would you recommend to someone who's having these, one of these little deciding messages?
If you'll allow me, I'm going to back up for just a second.
Yep. Well, please.
When you were talking a moment ago, I was thinking that's a really great feeling space, right? The ADHD energy and excitement, right? That is a feeling that brings on good hormones, it brings on energy. People like to be in that space. That's where ADHD people thrive. I've got this idea and I've got this idea and we're going to go here and we're going to do that. It all feels really good. And it feels good physiologically, right? There's a real adrenaline rush to being in that ADHD zone. Do you experience that?
Yes. Yeah.
And so we can kind of get, and I see this with the students that we work with at Russell Coaching, we can get a little bit hooked on that adrenaline rush because it feels so good physiologically, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're ADHD and don't have autism, a lot of times you'll stay in that space till you're just physically exhausted.
Yeah.
And that's not always so great for your body, for relationships, for wellness, right? But as you were saying, the autism part can be a little bit of a downer, like I have to stop. Wait, am I not doing this right? Like when you talked about, is it a moral failure because it feels like fear? That's the part exactly where I think people need to tap into. This is my brain saying, slow down. You might be getting tired. Slow down. This might be the time to evaluate. Slow down. This might be time for some water and a snack, right? But it's not going to always be accurate. Most of the time, it's not going to be accurate to say, I'm getting the slow down message because I'm afraid or I'm self-doubting. right? And that's something that I think if people with the ADHD brain can realize, you're not getting the slow down message out of fear. You're getting the slow down message because your brain and your body right now need a break.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
And so, right? And so then welcoming that and saying, okay, I'm getting exhausted. My autism brain is telling me, slow down, you're going too fast. So that's my cue to take a break. And then also say to yourself, I can easily get back into my ADHD space. That's think you're absolutely right. And I think this is going to be the central message or one of the central messages of this particular podcast. Don't let the way the autism brain sends that message send you into self-doubt and fear.
Oh, the negative storytelling. Yeah, gotcha.
Right. Like, oh, you think you have some great idea here, but remember the last time that didn't work out, or, well, what if you put, all of your business reserves into this idea and it doesn't go well? Or what if you can't find the right person to partner with on this? No. Those are totally valid business concerns. That's not fear. That's your ASD brain saying, let's do some more analytical thinking on this.
So what I'm hearing also is that the ASD brain is not necessarily the limiting self-belief part of your psyche. It could just be the fact an ASD brain is kind of like very, very factual. Hey, dude, you need a break. We need to slow down, stop for a logical reason, not for some past writing of limiting self-belief. Wow.
Absolutely not. And think about if both of these conditions were not in an entrepreneur's makeup, they might not be as creative, right? They might not be as energetic. They might not be as charismatic. And without the autism part, they might not have the ability to slow down and follow through. And so it's really a question of learning to work both sides of things to produce, right? Because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, for me as an entrepreneur, I want to be able to produce. I want to not just think about ideas
and provide value to our clients.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that we know the differences, makes us a lot more, you got self-awareness now, and you can easily work that out more. Yeah. And like I said, actually you said this. I really like that mantra about, or the phraseology you used was ADHD propels while the autism brain. Sorry, let me restart this. ADHD propels the autistic brain into action while the autistic brain brings steadiness and calm to the ADHD brain, right? And what we need to really take away from this as well is the autistic brain needs stability, predictability, and things in a pattern. And those two ADHD and autism brains together, it helps each other and balances out if we know and understand that. And by that is by having a good reflection to understand and articulate our brains, but also to understand what message is being sent from what part of the brain and for what reason. So in the end, the combination of ADHD and autism traits is a powerful asset in entrepreneurship upon reflection and understanding. And by understanding both the strengths and the challenges, man, we can really dominate. I know it's already freed me up the last few weeks that we've talked when you told me this. I really appreciate this side and explanation. Norrine, where people find you?
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to talk with you and
Same here.
Think about how do these concepts apply in business. I work primarily in the field of education and psychology at Russell Coaching for Students, but I love business and have taken several business classes. And so it's really fun to be here and think about how does this work for the entrepreneur? Because I, of course, myself fall into that category. People can find information about Russell Coaching for Students at russellcoaching.com. And we are a student coaching practice that focuses on just what we've been talking about today. How do you take your ADHD and autism strengths as a student and become successful in school and life? So if you go to russellcoaching.com Complementary.com. You can find all of our socials. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's also on the website a number of podcasts that I've been on that provide some solid parenting wisdom and advice for parents who are raising kids who have either or both ADHD and autism.
Excellent. And I highly recommend you go check out our website. And Dr. Russell, thanks again for joining us. And to you, the listeners, can you reflect on a past time where your ADHD and autistic brain were in tension and also in great support of your success? So Dr. Norrine, thanks again. And to you, the listeners, thanks again for learning with me, and we'll talk to you soon.